It's the final mock draft Monday of the offseason as Jake Arthur gives his final predictive mock before the big day on Thursday. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Colts. My name is Zach Hicks. That's Jake Arthur. And we have been doing mock draft Mondays for probably like 2 months now on this podcast, Jake. And we are finally on the last mock draft Monday of the offseason. We're going to split up Jake and I's final predictive mock drafts for the Indianapolis Colts this offseason. Jake's going to go today. I'm going to go tomorrow. And then we're going to have Stephen Holder on later in the week like we always do, and then get into, obviously, the hecticness that is the NFL draft in 2026. But yeah, today we're going to go through all 7 rounds of Jake Arthur's final predictive mock draft. So Jake, to kick it off, you had a little bit of trade action that started off. Now, some Colts fans, when they heard Ballard say he's going to be aggressive at 47, were saying, oh, he's going to move up. But you and I know how he talks, and he even clarified later on in his conversation that active is a better word and probably moving back. So you have him moving back in round 2 from pick 47 back to pick 51 with the Carolina Panthers, and you acquire pick 119 as well. So at pick 51 in round 2, Jake, who is your first selection of your final predictive mock?
Brother, I agonized over this, as I know you did as well. Do you go edge? Do you go linebacker? What do you do? And ultimately, the how strong Anthony Hill is as a projection for the Colts is too much to pass up. So with the Colts' first pick, number 51 overall, we're going with Texas linebacker Anthony Hill Jr. He just checks every single box for them. You know, it does. There's just no one else that makes sense. I would have to talk myself into it when you're looking at a tiebreaker. He's got the size, the length, the athleticism, the power. He's a 3-down player, really good playmaking ability. He's got a ton of like forced fumbles. He can get interceptions as well. This is a guy who can just go out there at the Mike linebacker spot. Again, that's the one that's really vacant for them at Zaire Franklin, his spot. He can go out there and he doesn't have to leave the field. Like, is he going to take his lumps and his growing pains? Sure. He's not a perfect prospect, but I think they feel like they really have to lick their wounds from what they allowed their linebacker group to be last year. I don't think they want any linebackers out there who can't be on the field at all times. Which they got stuck with a couple of 2-down linebackers in coverage a lot, and it victimized them repeatedly. So I just think, especially in the trade back, Anthony Hill Jr. makes all the sense in the world. It immediately makes your linebacker group better. And then you've got him and Akeem Davis-Gaither, which is a nice little athletic duo at linebacker that I think is rangy and vastly improves their group from the year before. In certain areas, you know, I don't want to make it seem like Jermaine Pratt and Zaire Franklin were scrubs. Like, there's definitely the strengths that they had, but this makes them younger and faster.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think when it comes to Anthony Hill Jr., he ended up being number 1 on the Chris Ballard Build a Ballard list that I do every single year. Easily number 1, scored a perfect score across the board for the metrics I was looking at, from arm length to athleticism to production in college, early production in college. I mean, we got to remember that he was an all Big 12. It was all Big 12 and then all SEC this past year. But he was all Big 12 as a 19-year-old. I think it was a redshirt freshman or it was a true sophomore.
Yeah,
so
he checked into Texas early and went right away.
Yeah, so 19 years old, he was an all Big 12 honoree. This past season at 20 years old, he was all SEC first team. Incredible production at Texas. I still don't absolutely love the film. I think the film is solid. But when you're looking at the traits, you're looking at the youth, you're looking at the production he had in college. I don't think the Colts are going to reach for a linebacker in round 2, but I do think he's one of 2 or 3 guys that they'd feel comfortable taking there in round 2. And it kind of reminds me a lot of when they took Bobby Okereke. I know Bobby Okereke wasn't like an early pick like Leonard was, but when they took Bobby Okereke, it was a guy who checked every single box for what Chris Ballard looks for. And while linebacker wasn't considered a need in that 2019 draft, they still felt comfortable taking Okereke in round 3. I think the same with Hill here, where I don't think this is them pushing the envelope saying we need a linebacker. I think it's just them saying this is a guy who checks every single box for us and a player we like. So I would
Mhm.
still have Hill as probably my betting favorite for the Colts in round 2, even though like you mentioned, Jake, we're agonizing over these final mocks for the first time in years.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel comfortable about any mock draft I'm putting together.
Yeah.
But Hill, I do feel comfortable that he's a guy that they're really going to like. And if he's there, around 47 to 50 or so, I do think the Colts are going to be heavily interested in him. So he's in that
Mhm.
bucket of players that I absolutely think the Colts are going to be in on. Round 3 gets a little bit more interesting, though, because there's a lot of different positions you could go with here, especially after bypassing edge, Jake. So I picked 78, which you still kept at number 78. You didn't move back.
Mhm.
Who did you take for the Colts here?
Yep. So we know that they have been really interested in these like top 75, top 100 receivers. They've had 30 visits or some sort of I would say more than just casual meeting and interaction with these guys. Ted Hurst, Chris Brazel, Chris Bell, these guys. Deshaun Stribling is another one that they have shown interest in. And I think he makes all the sense in the world for them. So right now you're trying to replace, again, not just Michael Pittman Jr., but also A.D. Mitchell and the potential that he brought into your receiver room. So a guy like Ole Miss receiver Deshaun Stribling at 78, I think he checks a lot of boxes again for them, just like Hill did. So he's got the size, he's got the speed, he runs in the 4.3s, he's over like 6'2", 200 pounds, really good hands, he can make competitive catches, but he really there's nothing routine about what he does after the catch. I think he creates a lot of his own yards. You see the speed that he showed with the 40 time. You see the explosion. He had the good jumps. He like accelerates very quickly as well after the catch. So you're getting some of the size and grittiness that Michael Pittman Jr. left behind, and the athleticism and playmaking that A.D. Mitchell left behind. And if a guy like Alec Pierce is going to be out through OTAs with his ankle cleanup, then you get this guy a little extra work to get him ready in time. He's a little bit older. He's been to a few schools by now. So I think the fit and the timeline is there because you do need a receiver that can contribute right away. I think you're going to move Ashton Dulin up in the pecking order a little bit. You're going to ask Josh Downs to do more. They keep talking up Josh Downs quite a bit, even, without being asked about him. So I think Downs is about to see a big uptick. But I mean, he's undersized and he's naturally more of a slot guy. So I think a guy like Stribling can contribute right away. He's kind of pro ready. Not that he's going to have a huge role, but I think he's got enough athletic traits and experience to be able to fit into the rotation pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Stribling's one of my favorite players this entire draft process. Now, I think the hype machine has kind of bumped him up even higher than I like to
Always
a little
does.
bit in this,
Yeah.
which always happens to me every single draft cycle. There's a guy I like, and then he gets bumped way higher than I want him to be, and I end up being like more of a hater on him than the national consensus. But I do think in like this round 3 range is good for Stribling. Not super productive in college, but he was able to still maintain like a top 2 status at 3 different schools in offenses. So I do think that is worth noting with him. Good size, good speed. When it comes to Ballard, he actually missed a lot of athletic thresholds with his agility and with his jumps.
Okay.
But he does project very similar to like a Michael Pittman Jr., but with just more juice, right?
Mhm.
So Michael Pittman Jr. also missed almost every single threshold. But because he was a big body guy with reliable hands, he was still an option for the Colts. So I think if the Colts are looking to replace Pittman Jr. with just a younger, more juiced up version of him, I think that's what Stribling really brings. So that'll be the main test if he ends up being their guy in like a round 3 range. Because if they just want Michael Pittman Jr. again, but faster and more explosive after the catch, I think Stribling's the best guy in this draft for that. So I
Mhm.
do love that fit. I love his ability to move around the formation. He can be that Z receiver that motions into bunches. He can motion into the backfield. He can block at a high level. So I've been very high on him replacing Michael Pittman Jr. all offseason. And that's one that, we've been talking about him since day one. And now towards the end of all this, we're still talking about him. So
Yep.
I like it there, Jake. Coming up, though, we're going to talk about day 3, the early day 3 for Jake's final predictive mock draft. And he makes another big trade back to start off day 3 of this predictive mock.
Matt Derry here from the Locked On Lions podcast. Life insurance is one of those things you don't really think about until you have a reason to. For me, it really hit home when my father passed away over 20 years ago. You start thinking less about yourself and more about the people who depend on you and making sure they're taken care of no matter what. That's why I like Ethos. They make getting life insurance simple. It's 100% online, no doctor visits, no needles, none of that. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in just a few minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And honestly, that's huge because life gets busy. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some plans are as low as just $30 a month. It's just one of those things that gives you peace of mind knowing your family is protected. Take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Applications may vary. Rates may vary.
In workplace chaos, deadlines are stacking up and the inbox is overflowing, and the one position that you still have to fill is sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is the job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Alrighty, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back. Before we get back to Jake's final predictive mock draft of the season, don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with me, Jake, and other listeners of this show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join. Before we get into round 4, Jake has made yet another trade. He's predicting more shots in the dark for Chris Ballard in this draft class. And when I talk about shots in the dark, I truly mean with the picks that he is acquiring here. He moves back from pick 113 to pick 120 with the Green Bay Packers and acquires picks 201 and 236. So Jake getting us some more special team shots there at the end of the draft. So now with your first pick, actually from pick 119, right, from the other trade back. So your first pick at 119 and then your next one at 120. Who are you going with these back-to-back picks in round 4?
Yeah, so I always like when your team can go back-to-back. So we're going first. I've really been hung up on the idea of doubling up on edge, and we haven't done it yet. So the first edge I really like here, this is someone who I've become like a late arrival to his hype train, but that's Keyron Crawford, edge defender out of Auburn. Really interesting guy that I think he's very Ballard coded. Number one, he's over 6'4", he's over 250, he's got 32-inch arms, which all that's great. Didn't start playing football until like senior year of high school. Former basketball player, and you can kind of see that with he's kind of twitchy. He's got fast feet, really high motor, good power, just good explosion. But you see that like edge rusher is something it takes a lot of time to craft who you are as an edge rusher. And you're always trying to add stuff to it and get better. He is a guy who you could see all the physical tools, snap in and snap out. It's not put together yet, so he's just like this perfect guy to give to a veteran defensive line coach like Marion Hobby with the Colts now, just to fine tune this kid and get all of his physical traits under control. I really like this fit here. High motor. Again, he's got the power that we heard Chris Ballard mention today, that when he's looking for edge guys for Lou Anarumo, they've got to have some power, size, length, things like that. He's got all of that. But Chris, for whatever reason, he's always liked these kind of raw guys, these balls of clay that you still have to put together. And I think Crawford fits that perfectly.
Yeah, Crawford was a guy who slipped under my radar because he didn't test this offseason. I think he's been dealing with an injury this offseason. And then in terms of the size, if we look historically at Chris Ballard and Lou Anarumo, they typically like defensive ends above 260 and above 33-inch arms, so like bigger and longer, even than Crawford. So he's a guy who slipped under my radar for a lot of this, but he's also a guy that, from everybody I've talked to, has mentioned his explosiveness, his speed, his ability to bend the corner as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he slipped a little bit under the radar because we haven't seen the testing numbers that back that up. Right. But teams have access to GPS data. They have access to guy speed through contact. I've seen a lot of cool articles written about that with the Los Angeles Rams talking about how they measure players' speed through contact and stuff. So the team like the Colts have all the data they need to make a decision on a Keyron Crawford. So as long as he checks out like those explosiveness and the testing numbers that we don't get to physically see like on paper, I think he could be an ideal pick here on early day 3. But your next pick is a guy we've talked about quite a bit this offseason. So at 120, the next pick of the draft, Jake, who did you go with?
Yes, this is a guy who I wasn't going to put together a mock without him in it, just because he makes a lot of sense for them. It's a deep position, and he's got the kind of flexibility that I think the Colts will like. It's Kansas State safety VJ Payne. So again, we have talked a lot about this guy lately. We've wondered, could he be one of these big nickels with the traits he's got? 6'3", a little over 200, like uber athlete. Could he play outside? Right now, I just think it kind of doesn't matter because the Colts have a little bit of a crowded secondary right now, but you've got veteran defensive coaches in Lou Anarumo and Jerome Henderson and Chris Hewitt that can figure it out. So he, to me, when I studied him, he's kind of got a strong safeties mentality in a free safeties body. If he's going to be as physical in the NFL as he likes to be in college, I think he's going to have to put a little bulk on because he does throw himself around. I am a little curious where the ball production comes from because it's like a guy who has played as long as he has. I believe he started over 50 games or he's like played extensively. Not a lot of, pass breakups and interceptions to speak of, fumble numbers either. So I'm a little bit, kind of curious about that. But just again, the physical traits, again, really explosive testing athlete there. I love his mentality from the safety position. I like guys who are aggressive and like to make things happen themselves. And then he's lined up everywhere. He's got a ton of snaps in the slot, outside, up top. He's played special teams. So this is a guy who, Chris Ballard mentioned that the safety group is one of the deeper groups this year as well. And I've got to think they take one. They clearly have been trying to add to that group relentlessly all offseason. So if it comes push to shove, a guy like VJ Payne versus Nasir Adderley and Jonathan Owens, I think this guy's got a lot to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I've spoken enough about VJ Payne this offseason. I don't have to go too much detail, especially because we're running out of time here in segment 2. But one thing I will say about your picks here on the early part of day 3 is I think if you were to put together highlight videos of each of these 3 players, I think they'd all be first-round picks. The reason why they're here on day 3, though, is the consistency that you're looking for. But the highlights and the athleticism are all great. So I'm going to use that to segue here to your 5th-round pick. At pick 156, you took another edge rusher. Dive into your last highlight reel champion here.
Yeah, so I'll be honest that we're kind of thrown a little bit of a curveball with Chris's presser today. So I thought the more pressing need for them in edge was to get someone to replace Kwity Paye. I have mentioned before they haven't really had like a fastball type guy, but that's something they've kind of always lacked. So what's the urgency there? Chris Ballard today said he really thinks what they're missing is a fastball type. So we've talked about like Zion Young, Gabe Akis, like these bigger, stronger guys early at edge rusher. It's like, well, let's go ahead and give them some fastballs in the middle rounds here. So Keyron Crawford fits that, and this next guy does as well. It's Florida edge rusher George Gumbs Jr. Terrific athlete. I believe he has wide receiver, tight end. Like he's played a lot of different stuff earlier in his football career as well. So again, the Colts love these guys who switch positions. They've got the athletic traits to where they've stood out in multiple different areas. But he's explosive and just, again, has not put it together either. You're looking at his former school and this new school at Florida, and you're like, where are the numbers? They just haven't come there yet. But I'm also kind of the thinking where you've got these guys who transfer, they've switched positions and everything. If you just give them consistency and let them grow in your program for a year or so, you're probably going to start to see some return on investment there. An edge rusher is always going to be something that takes a little while to develop. So I really like the idea of pairing Keyron Crawford and George Gumbs. You're going to get something out of these guys, especially just the traits are so impossible to ignore. Do you wish they were more productive in college? Of course, but you're also looking to get edge rushers on day 3 here. So you have to go with traits.
It's the best you can do on day 3 with edge rushers. I do completely agree with you there. Coming up, Jake's going to dive into his final 6 picks of this draft. He's got 6 more picks to make, so we're going to have to put a timer on for Jake to get through all 6 of those picks. But he makes another trade to finish off with 11 picks in his predictive mock draft. So we're going to go through those final 6 picks here in just a second. Spring is a natural reset point, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost business money, it's messy communication. Missed calls, scattered texts, and no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. That's spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, a text, or an opportunity. The part that I love, everything lives in one clean thread. Calls, texts, voicemails, the whole team sees the conversation so nothing falls through the cracks. And the AI summaries save serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make this the season no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnfl. That's Quo, QUO.com/lockedonnfl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Alrighty, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back with the final predictive mock draft of Jake Arthur, the boots on the ground for the Locked On Colts show. Jake made one more trade as we dive into this final one here, and he acquired a late 6th-round pick from Pittsburgh for Kenny Moore II. So we didn't want to do anything too crazy with trading away Colts players. I think getting like a 6th or at best like a 5th for Kenny makes the most sense. So Jake has 6 picks from round 6 and 7. A lot of shots in the dark here, getting younger and faster across the roster, like Chris Ballard has mentioned. I do agree, Jake, that this is probably the direction we're going to go. And, the Colts have 7. I wouldn't be shocked to see them have an 11-man draft class like this. So let's take it from the top. At pick 201, one of the picks you acquired from Green Bay, where are you heading with this one?
Yeah, man, when you go into the draft with that many needs, you've got to kind of cast a wide net here. So 201 from Green Bay, it's time to get onto the offensive line. Drew Shelton is a guy that you've talked about. I've talked about him a little bit lately. Now that I've started to look into the offensive lineman, this is a guy where I think he fits what the Colts need at that swing tackle position. Another former basketball player like Jalen Travis. So he's got those nice feet. He's not got the most dominating size. What is he like? 6'5", 6'6", just a little over 300. He's not the normal like gigantic offensive tackle that the Colts normally go for. Potentially even kick inside if they need to. But I just like him. I think he kind of comes with the right demeanor, the good play style. I like a guy with like a kind of a finesse basketball background, but shows the toughness that he does. So I think Shelton is a good guy to throw into the mix with Luke Tenuta and Blake Freeland.
Yeah, I had a 4th round grade on Shelton, so if he's there in round 6, I think that's a money pick all day right there. So very, very much like his film. Now, pick 214 that you acquired from Pittsburgh, or was this the one that the Colts actually acquired? I don't know. You made a lot of trades.
214 was who they got for Pittman.
Okay.
Yep.
So this one is not from you. This is a trade that the Colts made. Where are you heading with this pick here?
Yep. So I want to go inside. I still want them to address backup nose tackle because
But they like Derek Nottie, man. And Jerry Tillery has the versatility.
Tim Smith, yeah. Jerry Tillery, if he wants to play both spots. I don't like the depth there particularly. But a guy like Bryson Eason from Tennessee, you're looking at about 6'3", 320 pounds. So one of the bigger guys like you like. Former jumbo-sized linebacker that beefed up even further. So he's good. You see kind of the nimbleness in the feet from his former days of a linebacker. He's got some quick twitch to him for a guy that big, kind of similar to a Grover Stewart type, but still the strength and slipperiness to get through the interior and into the backfield. So it's tough to really find your good, solid day 3 interior defenders, especially if you're looking like specifically for a one tech. But I think Eason is probably like the last one that I really like.
You said 320 plus pounds, and I'm already sold. I don't need anything else. Going to your next pick, round 6, pick 216 from Pittsburgh as well. This is the one that you acquired straight up for Kenny Moore.
Yep.
So which player did you trade Kenny Moore for, Jake?
Yeah, finally we get someone from IU here. It's Indiana running back Kaelon Black. The Colts have had some level of interest in him throughout the process. I've heard of his name tied to them a couple times, but he's a good, solid player. There's nothing spectacular about him, but he is capable of contributing on all 3 downs. He can run, get tough yards inside and out. He can catch it. He can block. Just a good, solid player. He's got tread on the tires. Like he's a 4-year player who again followed Coach Signetti from James Madison to Bloomington there at IU. But he never had like a huge workload. He always kind of split the load. So he's not a guy who's got like a million carries and all this wear and tear on his body. So I think, and he's played a little bit of special teams, never was a heavy special teams guy throughout his career, but 2024 getting to IU had well over like 100 plus snaps there. So he's kind of a core guy, which is more than DJ Giddens can say, because I didn't find any special team snaps in Giddens' college career. So Black at least has that on him. And, they're missing Tyler Goodson, so they need something.
Yeah, no, tough, competitive player. I love that he went down to the Senior Bowl immediately after the national championship game.
Winning the national championship.
Yeah, very impressive with him. So I love that pick for the Colts. Next up, you have another player who played in the national championship game and also went down to the Senior Bowl right afterwards. Had a bit of a rough Senior Bowl, but that's to be expected when it comes to that transition they had. But in round 7, pick 236, one of the picks you acquired from the Green Bay Packers. Where did you go?
Diet Tanner Bortolini, kind of an undersized center. James Brockermeyer from Miami is my pick from Green Bay at 236. Again, Diet Tanner Bortolini, undersized center who kind of known for having like good flexibility, able to contort his body a little bit. Not overly strong, but like good enough to get through. He's got plenty of athleticism. He's got plenty of experience. So the Colts need to replace Danny Pinter, and I think this guy makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed with Tony Sparano Jr. is it seems like his type at guard and tackle is get as big as possible, right? We want Gonsalves in there. We want Dalton Tucker in there. We want Jalen Travis out on the outside, like just massive, massive human beings. But at center, like he was head over heels for Tanner Bortolini, like Danny Pinter quite a bit. They have Morrissey in here from Pittsburgh, who I think was under 300. Yeah, so I think at center, he likes a mover. He likes an athletic mover. So a player like Brockermeyer, I think, is one of the players like late in the draft that I'm really highlighting if they are looking specifically for a center-only backup like Danny Pinter was for them. So Brockermeyer makes a lot of sense in that range. Kind of a weird combine snub this offseason.
Black too.
Yeah, but like Kaelon Black as well. Yeah, so you're not trying to go with combine. I think your last 4 picks, none of them were at the NFL Combine here, Jay. That's interesting little bit of lore here with yours. But let's combine these last 2 picks together because these are probably practice squad guys in year
Yeah.
one. I don't know if they would actually make the Colts roster, especially one of them here. But throw these last two guys here, picks 249 and pick 254. Jake, how do you round out your 11-man draft class?
Yep. So these are actually the Colts picks, 249 and 254. First up, linebacker Jaden Duggar from UL-Lafayette. He has got the wingspan of an eagle. He's a big linebacker, big athletic guy. Kind of a late hype train for a lot of people. His name just really kind of started to catch on in the last couple weeks. The Colts have had a 30 visit with him. So if he does make the team, I think he could be a really interesting special teams player. But he's got like developmental linebacker who actually earns a role in a couple years written all over him, kind of an EJ Speed type. And then my last one here is a guy who I've been obsessed with the Colts adding the whole time. They've also hosted him for a 30 visit. It's Uar Bernard from Nigeria, the defensive tackle who really blew up the HBACU showcase 3-4 weeks ago. My God, like nearly, again, this guy is over 300 pounds, 36-inch arms almost, jumped out the gym, broad, vertical. Basically, if he would have been at the combine, not only would he had been the number one defensive tackle and everything, him and Adetomiwa Adebaware are basically first or second in everything that would have been at the combine. So this guy, unreal. I will say, though, seems like a pretty linear, stiff athlete, I'm going to guess. His agility drills were not record breakers, but everything like linear and explosive was incredible. But you know what? If you're a D tackle, we just want you to run straight anyways, right? Like,
I guess.
Not?
I mean, look, if he can get on the field at all in his career, that's a massive win. Whenever you don't have a school after your name and you have just your country of origin, then I think that's a big thing.
He's from the International Player Pathway Program. The Colts, they've used that quite a bit in the last few years. Marcel Dabo, Maximilian Mang. They don't have anyone in that spot right now. So if the Colts were to bring Bernard on, he could basically count for an extra spot on the practice squad. He could be a 91st guy during the offseason as well. But he would basically be a 17th practice squad spot that doesn't count against their count there. So he has no football background. He is just an explosive athlete who they're going to teach to play football. So we'll see how that goes if they're able to get him. But again, I'm not pulling that out of nowhere. They're one of a handful of teams that has actually hosted him for a 30 visit.
Let's teach him how to snap, man. Let's put him at center, baby. Let's have some fun with this.
I like it.
Yeah, two-way player, one snap a game on both sides of the ball and just see what he can do. That's what I have. One more note about Duggar real quick. Your other 7th round pick, former safety that moved down to linebacker as well, also transferred up to UL-Lafayette. I can't remember what his first school was, but it was like
a community college. Yeah,
it was a small school, but was a safety, moved to linebacker, 35-inch arms. So it's like Eric Gentry, but can actually play football type of arms right there. So yeah, I've highlighted him for sure as a Colts fit. But that is all we have for today for Jake's final predictive mock draft. We'll put it in the show notes, just the whole recap along with the trades, so that way you can follow along while you're listening or while you're watching on any platform that you follow this podcast. And thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Colts. We'll be back yet again tomorrow with my final predictive mock draft that I'm still trying to put together. I've done like 8 of these mock drafts so far, and I still don't have one I love. So I will be working on that until midnight tonight, try to get that completely ready for tomorrow. But make sure you follow and subscribe Locked On Colts wherever you get your latest episodes. If you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on social media. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get us ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedoncolts.supercast.com to join the club. A little bit of notes for the rest of the week, though. The Colts squad show will be moving around a little bit this week. It'll be on Wednesday night and Sunday night. That way it doesn't interrupt with Jake and I's draft coverage and our ability to immediately go after each day of the draft. So Colts squad show, if you guys are huge fans of that with Alan Pinkett and Derek Schultz, make sure you're checking that out on Wednesday evening and Sunday evening this week. And then after that, we'll get back to the Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And for those of you on video, we'll send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your next listen Locked On NFL Draft with our guys, Damian and Keith. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow afternoon.